Mr. Moore would say, if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. That's why we at moodLearning take nothing for granted, so our partners can sleep soundly at night. Take security. For most part, learning online shouldn't be too much of a security concern. But if your online courses contain sensitive information like trade secrets, patents, marketing strategies, you'd think twice about leaving online security as a non-priority. But what do? Too many security jargons? We at moodLearning, not only do we ensure our e-learning system works as it is supposed to, you can tell us to go crazy on security, so you don't have to. Is your company particularly concerned with online security? Talk to us. I'll personally walk you through the lengths we have to go through to make your online learning safe and secure. moodLearning. Experienced support. Tech in plain language.
Okay. Hello and good morning to all of you, especially to those who will be eventually watching this on our Facebook page and to those in the Zoom call with us right now. Welcome to Internship 2022 in the mood to learn and work via process engineering, also known as the final presentation of the industrial engineering interns for this term. Today's event, we hope that you'll be able to learn more about the field of e-learning and the versatility of process engineering in improving organizations. On behalf of moodLearning and its interns, we have sincerest gratitude for taking the time to be here today. As one of the interns presenting, I know I speak for all of us when I say that it's been a joy working here and really applying that IE knowledge. Through process improvement engineering, we have been able to aid moodLearning in its mission to provide top-notch service through innovative technologies and systems. Speaking of, we'd like to introduce to you the members of moodLearning. Ms. Helen Fabero, the President of moodLearning, Sir Peter C., the Vice President, Ms. Malin Mendoza, the Vice President of moodLearning, our supervisors, Ms. Mayna Alejandro, Sir Edward Santiago, and Ms. Rana Dizon, and then on all the other employees and teams at moodLearning. We'd also like to acknowledge representatives from the Department of Industrial Engineering and Operations Research, or DIOR, from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, Sir Erickson Laguno, the residing department chair for DIOR, and Sir Pierre Villena, our professor and supervisor for IE 193. And last but not the least, we'd also like to acknowledge representative from Bulacan State University Main Campus, Engineer Jeremy Banyes, an esteemed member of the IE department faculty. And before we start our presentation, we'd also like to take some time to introduce ourselves to everyone here. So starting with me, hello there, my name is Andrea, and I'm an incoming fourth year industrial engineering student from UP Diliman. I'm also a proud representative of UPIE Club, the Advertising Corps, and Isaac and UPD and UP Caves. So I hope that you all look forward to learning more about what we have to say for today and how open your ears and hearts to moodLearning and e-learning. Okay.
All right. Hi, I'm Miles Ramirez. You can call me Miles. I am also an incoming fourth year industrial engineering student at University of the Philippines, Diliman, and we hope you enjoy our presentation today. So I'm glad that you are all here. We hope you enjoy and have a good time.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jobert Jimenez from Bulacan State University.
Okay, so that about wraps it up for the opening remarks. And now is the moment that you've all been waiting for, the opportunity to discover more about how to systematically improve processes for your own organizations and perhaps learn more about e-learning and moodLearning along the way. Keep your eyes and ears open, and we hope that we'll learn much from today. All right. So, when the pandemic hit, businesses, schools, and offices alike were forced into a work from home setup. As students who have yet to enter blended learning but have experienced face-to-face, we can attest to just how difficult it was to adjust. But do you know what really helped me? Were these. For those who don't know, all of these are platforms where we are able to access all of my learning materials, lecture recordings, quizzes, tests, and more. These really saved me countless times. I didn't realize just how useful these were, and many others were just like me. And these weren't just limited to schools. Businesses and organizations use them too. Some make them specifically for enterprises to manage or train their employees efficiently, compiling all the necessary materials for new hires to go through independently. Learning is universal and never ends at just the school level. But while many did not understand the need for such until recently, Mood Learning has been continuously striving for online platforms that make information available for all, being the frontrunners of e-learning and system development. They work in developing what we call learning management systems, or LMS. An LMS is a software application or web-based technology used to plan, implement, and assess a specific learning process. Typically, it includes interactive features like threaded discussions, video conferencing, and discussion forums. These are also supplemented by e-learning materials of Mood Learning's own making.
moodLearning. moodLearning is a company established in 2011 that provides custom learning management system and e-learning materials to businesses and organizations. Aside from LMS and e-learning material development, moodLearning also provides other technology services such as setting up, management, training, and consulting. So mood learning gets you in the mood for learning. In short, mood learning gets you in the mood for learning, and the mood learning next slide. And the mood learning join forces with these professionals in the Department of Treasury, Administration or HR, marketing team, graphics team, and computing team to make the business run. To save time and effort and money, we have applied what we have learned as industrial engineering students. The concept that we were able to apply are as follows: process mapping, sheet programming, documenting, forms management, industrial organization and management, organizational behavior, operational research, management. The usefulness of IE topics in mood learning, despite the fact that we are interns, of course, we want to improve things from your business. Industrial engineers have the ability to develop novel techniques for controlling industrial production processes, test them, and then assess their effectiveness. So, what is IE? What is IE doing? Where is IE used? Um, What is IE? IE is industrial engineering is an interdisciplinary profession that is concerned with the analysis, design, and optimization of complex processes, systems, or organization by developing, improving, and implementing integrated systems of people, money, knowledge, information, equipment, energy, and materials. What are IE doing in ML? Industrial engineers are responsible for the development of productive systems that successfully combine people, machine, resources, information technology, and energy in order to produce goods or provide services. Where is IE used? During in the industrial engineering have access to a diverse set of skills which enables them to work in a variety of positions, including managerial and technical ones. They can be found working on variety of settings such as in fields of engineering and consulting, research and development, the service industry, logistic, manufacturing, and trade. During the internship, we were asked to do the following: create a project checklist that will help mood learning to easily monitor and the project by courses and modules. Monitor status of the project. It is my duty to constantly maintain the project updated. And project management template. I do a lot of research and watch YouTube videos for this part. And I'm little perplexed that Gantt chart which I'm about to use is the same as Pareto chart. Project documentation. During this part, we collaborated with an intern. We are responsible for this project documentation. Next slide. And this is my timeline, a brief description of what I'm doing in moodLearning as an intern.
So in summary, as IEs, we were asked to improve processes, maximize strengths, and close gaps. But what are gaps? So gaps are quite literally the difference from where we currently stand to where we want to be. It occurs when we have yet to achieve this desired state for ourselves. And to resolve these gaps, we follow a four-step process by management consulted, which broke down gap analysis into identifying the current state of operations, desired state of operations, the trajectory to get to that state, and the solution to the gap between the current and desired states. We interns adapted this very same process for moodLearning to solve gaps with internal stakeholders, namely the employees, and external stakeholders, the clients. With a gap minding cheat sheet in PowerPoint, moodLearning is guided in steps 1 to 3. They can independently categorize issues and gaps based on triggers, then view suggested solutions. From here, one can make a final appropriate solution and document it in the gap tracker. Having this gap minding system allows gaps to be addressed as quickly as possible in the right way by the right people. Gaps are not something that we arbitrarily consider as a problem, but something that actively hinders and limits what the organization can do, and who better to know these than the employees themselves. Throughout our internship process, we would schedule interviews with the teams, guiding the direction of the conversation through questions targeting 2 of the 5 P's of production systems and operations management, people, and process, asking general or pointed questions that we don't assume anything about the situation of the company. However, gathering information is just not enough. This info serves no use unless we can make something out of it, which is why they must be documented properly. We use the business process model and notation, or BPMN model, and convene the modular to document these processes. At first glance, it seems confusing with multiple kinds of arrows and additional iconography that you've never seen before, and you may ask yourself if it's worth learning, especially since there are easier ones to use, like the block diagram, which is the most basic flowchart and the first kind that people picture when they hear flowchart. It flows from one step to another linearly. And there's also the American National Standards Institute, or ANSI, standard flowchart, which builds further in the block diagram, showing how processes are connected and even introduces decision modules. But while similar to flowchart, the biggest draw of BPMN is that it allows for multiple branching paths, including a path for possible errors in doing a process. Iconography is also easily understandable after digesting their meaning, even by those not in the IE field. For example, if an action involves sending a task, it's marked with a white envelope, and actions involving receiving tasks are marked with black envelopes. So these are the types of things that we look for when in terms of documenting. Instead of producing outputs that showcase you best, we produce outputs that are usable and understandable by others. And that's something that a lot of us tend to forget. So using the post-evaluation as an example, we documented the previous post-evaluation and exposed how there's a lack of substantial feedback from the client that allows for company growth. Thus, this is what we did. We introduced a more cohesive post-evaluation form and made it required for clients to answer before being able to access and make use of the final output developed by moodLearning. Here, the documentation of processes had shed light on gaps that typically pass others by, and since they've grown so used to current processes. And aside from the aforementioned, we also use the same process to improve the following.
Okay, now you may have been wondering how the interns were able to add value to the company. Well, after we've collected enough data, identified gaps and areas for improvement, and visualized our trajectory, the next thing we did was to formulate recommendations that would make their methods and processes more efficient. We'll go through these items one by one. First, we strongly urged moodLearning to make use of the data that they collect and store more effectively. It would be a waste if we'd only be passing these data we've spent time collating on to government agencies that ask for them. Let's maximize the use of these data by generating insights. For example, instead of just collating expenses for BIR tax filing, why don't we use the data to monitor the trend of our spending practices instead of listing down account receivables just for the sake of tracking who still needs to pay? Why don't we generate an aging report as well? Speaking of aging reports, we have created a Google Sheet template for this where all account receivables would reflect on the aging report here shown in the slide. An aging report. So why did we choose an aging report? Well, an aging report can be used to see how much time it usually takes for a client to fulfill their financial duties. In short, we'll be able to know the account turnover rate. We'll be able to know if Mood Learning can still afford to pursue other projects given the rate of how often account receivables are converted into cash. Well, you can't pursue projects if you don't have enough cash, right? So aside from aging reports, we also created a Google Sheet where Mood Learning can track projects that they have won and lost. Well, for your information, Mood Learning procures clients through client bidding. So that's why we created this tracker. It displays the uh, items or the biddings that we have won and lost as well as upcoming bidding events. Collecting these kinds of data enables Mood Learning to know which types of project they are strong and weak in. Maybe the next set of interns can work on this as well. They'll know Mood Learning, what Mood Learning strengths are and weaknesses when it comes to client procurement. Okay, another thing that we wanted to improve was the flow of communication within and outside the company. Because to deliver the best result, the company has to work in harmony. Every member must be well informed about what's currently happening concerning the company. Everybody has to be on the same page. To achieve this objective, we made a more streamlined progress tracker that the project manager can use for tracking what team members have done so far. While Mood Learning already has its way of tracking the team members' progress, we just improved it by programming the Google Sheets in a way where the team members can update their individual sheets by themselves, and the updates that they have sent will automatically appear on the master sheet handled by the project manager. This way, the manager does not need to check the file of members one by one, saving time and effort. Aside from the progress tracker, we also suggested that the company do an email hourly. A little background, the company already does what they call an hourly. In a regular hourly, one person will be assigned to monitor websites and pages powered by the company. This way, if there's an error, it can be responded to immediately. We believe that the same routine can be extended to monitoring emails. This way, client emails can be responded to in a timely manner. Also, this can work. These updates shall be sent to the designated space so everyone will be informed of what clients are asking about. The company is currently trying to implement this recommendation, and we're happy that they're showing that what we did was important. So next, after that, we also inspected the platforms currently used by moodLearning to see if we can utilize it further. The first platform we looked into is Open Project. Okay, Open Project is an open source project management software. It can be used by anyone, me, you, any company. Currently, moodLearning only uses it to upload tasks and add assignees. Usage of Open Project is currently not optimized. So we recommended that moodLearning also use it to set meetings. Now, what's so great about setting meetings at Open Project? It's that it enables the manager to upload agenda before the meeting and the minutes after the meeting. This way, team members would be knowledgeable of what would be talked about and what was talked about during the meeting. As you can see, it's also a way to improve the flow of communication within the organization. Okay, another platform used by moodLearning is their very own human resource platform, People Suite. So we know that the platform already does a lot for timekeeping and monitoring attendance, but we think this can be further improved. Since it is moodLearning's own creation, we suggested that it be reconfigured in a way that allows the export of the number of hours an employee has rendered. This way, HR does not need to input the number of hours manually on an Excel sheet. This lessens the time and effort needed and minimize human error during salary computation. Okay, let's move on to our next recommendation. We also wanted to gauge the satisfaction of our customers, both internal and external. That's why we suggested the company establish a system where customers can evaluate the performance of a department or the company as a whole. This way, we'll know if we're actually getting better as perceived by our customers. Here's a sample of what we created: a client feedback form adapted from a client-based reputation of business-to-business professional services firm scale, developed in 2014 by Gianfranco Walsh, Sharon E. Beatty, and Betsy Bug Holloway. So this will be a good instrument to quantitatively and qualitatively assess if we are delivering the correct product or service. So as I've said earlier, we also want to gauge the satisfaction of our internal customers. We also have an internal feedback form created via chat form. Team members do not only supply what external clients need, they also need to work with other people within the team or other departments within the company. Hence the need for an internal feedback form. We need to make sure that everyone works in harmony, that all elements work in harmony for a smooth sailing operation. To help moodLearning implement the recommendations that we have laid out, the last thing that we did was to write manuals that they can follow. We created a 4 implementation manual that contains a description of the recommendation, materials needed, steps for setting it up, and steps for implementation, and the references. This way, the company won't get lost. They'll have a guide of what they need to do to successfully implement these recommendations. We don't want them to go to waste, right? Lastly, we encourage food learning to follow a checklist containing what to do for an effective onboarding process. Of course, before you can achieve a smooth sailing operation, your employees must be well oriented of what they have to do, the tasks, the policies, the culture inside a company. So this checklist will ensure that all policies and culture of the company are discussed to new hires. So to recap, these are what we did during our internship period. This, these items are what we recommended to Mood Learning to make their processes more efficient. By now, it should be clear to everyone how and why we should continuously improve our processes. If it's still a little blurry for you, let me provide a recap. To identify areas for improvements, we used the four-step gap analysis method. The first step is to know the current state of your processes. For this step, we use the BPMN discussed by Andrea earlier. We This tool helped us a lot, so maybe you can use it too. We encourage you to use it too because it provides a documentation that's easy to read and understand. Step two is to identify the goals of your company or your goal personally. And the next is to visualize your trajectory. For this part, you have to break down your ultimate goal into smaller, short terms one, easier to achieve. And the last step is what I discussed to think of how you'll be able to achieve these short term goals, the recommendations. Do you need to hire more people? Use new platforms? Maybe add a new process? It depends on what appeared on your four-step gap analysis. This tool is pretty straightforward and easy to use, so we encourage people to also use it when you want to improve how you do things. Not necessarily business processes. It can improve how you study, maybe to ace an exam as students. It helped us a lot. I'm sure it will do wonders in improving your processes as well. Well, we hope Mood Learning's next set of interns will be able to add more to these recommendations. After all, improvement should be continuous. Again, we ask, why do we need to improve processes? This is because, in essence, efficiency is just as important as effectiveness. Does that sound a little confusing? Well, let me you can add value to your already valuable product or service through process improvement. Process improvement allows you to multiply or even raise the quality of your work to a certain power. An improved process can save time, effort, and money. You can use these savings for something else instead. Maybe you can pursue other projects that will generate more profit or will help you achieve your goals more. And this is why we encourage companies like Mood Learning to work with people like us, industrial engineers. Let's work hand in hand to reach your company's full potential. Okay, this internship has been a wonderful experience for us. We were able to learn how things work in real life, not just in theory. Also, we were able to contribute value to Mood Learning by helping them optimize their processes. To our fellow students here, you'll have the chance to leave a mark and value to a company or organization that needs you to when you intern. We are sure that you have a lot to offer to companies, like how companies have a lot to offer to you. So we encourage everyone to get that experience through applying for an internship. Just a segue, moodLearning accepts interns, so maybe you can apply. We'll send the contact details of moodLearning later. Okay, now that's how as interns we were able to add or contribute value to the company. So we hope you caught everything. You were able to catch everything that we said. Andrea, back to you.
Okay. So thank you so much for listening to our presentation. So the floor is now open for any comments and or questions. Maybe your audience has anything they'd like to share, personal experience of how the quality of their output or service improved when we improve the process, or just general questions about process engineering or about the company themselves. So you can send them to the Zoom chat, or you can raise your hand and unmute. So we'll give a few moments of time. If in the meantime, if anyone from moodLearning would like and have to have anything to say to encourage those audience members with us in the Zoom call right now. Hello, Sir Eric.
Hi, hello, good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, po.
Yes, po.
Okay, good morning, Sir Peter, Ma'am Helen, and the officers of moodLearning. Morning as well, Andrea, Gwyneth, and Bert. No, I may have missed some other interns. Good morning as well. Okay, my first question would be, of course, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation of what you guys did during your internship at moodLearning. I just would like to know, I'm curious, which particular courses in our program, in the IE program, were very useful to you guys when you were doing the internship at ML?
As for me po, sir, the courses that yung learnings po sa courses ng IE 33 po, taught by you. We use that for our process mapping po. Di ba po tinuro yung process mapping sa IE 33. Also, yung forms management, pati po yung creation ng manuals. Pati yung forms management, kung ano yung elements dapat na nasa isang form, na-apply po namin yun sa paggawa namin ng feedback form po na need ng company. Also, yung sa process mapping po, nabigyan na kami ng idea kung paano mag-map ng process through flowchart. So, hindi na po naging mahirap sa amin matutunan kung paano gamitin ang BPMN. And also, we were able to use sheet programming po, the one we learned in IE 44. Tama ba yung IE 144? IE 144 po. Yes,
I'd like to add in, Bob, because usually in IE, so especially since we're in our latter years, so at that point it becomes more into supply chain or very specific about the project and systems. However, the work we did here, I think was more relevant to our first year or second year subjects. So one thing that came to mind, especially since we had to learn a lot about moodLearning, and since this was my very first internship, what came to mind was IE 21, which was our very first IE class, because having that baseline knowledge to understand organizations and their mission and how to implement that both in internal and external processes was very important. And aside from that, I also very much agree with Gwyneth and at IE 33, which is our process documentation. I was under a different professor. However, we were still able to gain some insights, so that kind of plotting also helped out in how, especially since our approach to BPMN was to plot the current and the revised. So seeing both side by side, having that continued process really helped a lot. If Bert, if you'd like to, I know you're not from UP, but if you would like to also mention any personal learning or topics that come to
Yeah. Si
mind.
Bert ba is also an IE student?
Yes po.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Bert.
For me, operational research and operational management, as well scheduling and time management of the project in mood learning. Also cover the scheduling system and stochastic modeling of analysis of system. And feasible po ba yung namin, yung scheduling namin. Yung ganun po.
Okay. Thank you very much again, Andrea, no, Gwyneth and Bert. It's really good to know that you guys were able to use that some of the topics discussed in class. I also like to thank moodLearning for exposing you or introducing to you BPMN. Yes, we do not tackle that yet, but it's really one of those that are used by the industry right now. Okay, and it's good to know, no, that you guys were able to use that and found that, not really challenging for you guys to use. My last question would be about you. You actually mentioned about coming up with an evaluation, no, both external and internal. I think with external, it's I don't know. It's more of like how the clients were satisfied in terms of the product or service delivered by moodLearning. I'm quite interested in how in the internal evaluation part. How often do you suggest that should be done by ML? No?
From what we put in our manual po, actually, it's after the end of every project, because there's also a there's also an added compensation for when they finish an entire project. So it has to be in line also with that process. And at the same time, with each project that ends, it's an entirely it's an entirely new set of how they manage things, since they moodLearning, the company, what they do very well is that they adapt and continuously adapt what else they have to do to the vision that the client wants. So to have this can help cast a wide fishing net to what type of approach they should have to which industry. Because, for example, while e-learning as a whole, for example, they partner with UH in making these kind of collateral for frontliners, or for healthcare workers who want to make new health workers who are trying to review their knowledge, or at the same time make systems for businesses that want to tackle HR. So it's a different approaches. So having one at the end of each project. Yun po. So after the turnover.
Okay. Thank you. And congratulations again to you guys.
Thank you
Thank you
so
po.
much po, Sir Eric.
Thank you, Sir Eric.
Maybe there are other questions po from our audience or comments about what we presented, or baka may personal experience po kayo sa process improvement.
Okay. So there was a PM to me. It says, what you consider the most important value you add to, oh, joke, that's to everyone, but what do you consider the most important value you add to moodLearning? And I think that, if it's okay, I'll start first. Okay. So, personally, what I think is that when it comes to these sorts of processes, Of course, employees themselves are very much busy with the deliverables they have to do and the timelines they have to achieve, especially in an industry, especially in the work that Mood Learning does, where they have to be strict with their timeline as it's set by an external stakeholder. So what we do is that um, as we mentioned earlier, when it came to processes, at times, despite it being inefficient, you grow used to those types of things because that's simply how it is. So the value I think we add most is that of foresight and also to be able to see how this exactly works out in the long run and not just to whether can we still just push through with it, kaya pa ba natin? Instead, we can think of not just the present, but with the things that we improve, we can also think about the future of mood learning. Ayun po. So if anyone else would like to add.
Yes, to add po to what Andrea said, for me, the most important value that we've added to mood learning is instilling the importance or the value of documenting your processes. Kasi I don't think a lot of businesses recognize the importance of documenting your processes. It's the first step of gap analysis. So to know if there are processes that need improvements, you have to lay them out first. And to lay them out first, you need to document them. So I think from now on, the company that we worked with, Mood Learning, would continue this practice to document their processes because they now recognize how important it is to inspect first, to look for gaps through their documents. How about you, Bert?
And to add lang po, um, we are able to learn how things work in real life, not just in theory, and to apply our knowledge in real world settings. And this will help understand the learning and focus of, of the companies and gain new perspective and ideas. Thank you, Sir Jerem.
Thank you so much po, Sir Jeremy, for that question po. And
Thank
thank you
you,
po.
sir.
Okay, in case of there anyone else that wants to ask any questions or any comments that they want to give, especially not just to us, but especially if you have something you want to ask them when learning themselves. If you're a student interested in interning, for example, uh, feel free to ask it as well. Yeah, there's one question here. So, what kind of people do you look for as interns and employees? I think someone from Mood Learning could better answer this.
So thank you, Andrea, Miles, and Bert for your presentation. I am Helen. So thank you for your inputs and recommendation to Mood Learning. So we'll surely adapt some if not all of your recommendations. And my question is, what challenges did you encounter in your internship, and what would you recommend for our future internship program? So I'll answer the question later, or someone from our team, yung sa tanong na what kind of people do you look for as interns or employees?
For the challenges po, I'll start. Maybe yung challenge po na na-encounter ko po sa internship na to is part of the onboarding. We weren't exactly hindi po lahat ng elements I think na-discuss sa amin. So, That's why we also recommended an onboarding checklist po para walang maiwan na element sa pag-o-onboard ng employees po at interns kasi important that they are knowledgeable. Alam nila kung ano yung task nila and company policies and culture po para effective sila makapag-work. For me, yun po yung naging challenge kasi very short lang po yung orientation sa akin nung first day. So, maybe ma lalo pa pong ma-improve yung process po ng onboarding, ma-adapt po yung nabigay po namin na recommendation. How about you, Andrea?
For me, I very much agree with you din na yung onboarding. Because I was lucky enough na nung pumasok ako, nandito na si Miles. So, you're able to also communicate with each other. But this is a luxury that most interns may not be able to have. There's someone that they already know in the intern team. Especially since mood learning really emphasizes the independence or how interns are able to actively ask anyone in the company for any questions. However, it can be difficult rin po for interns to be able to get the confidence to do so when they feel like they don't know much about the company itself. So, ayun po, I very much agree there. And I think you'd benefit a lot from working together, much like what we did, especially in the interviews and BPM and yun po. Bert, if you'd like to.
Sa akin naman po yung pagmamultitasking ko po. Kasi naggagawa po ako ng checklist, timeline, and cross-checking. But okay naman po dahil nagagawa ko naman. Yung pinaka-challenge lang po sa akin yung pagtitrace po kung saan po yung nagagalaw. For example po, may nag-update. So, dito dapat sabay-sabay na i-update yun para hindi po maiwan yung isa na task. Yun lang naman po.
Yes, but aside from kahit po nagkaroon kami ng challenges, we're glad po kasi lahat po ng members ng Mood Learning very responsive po. So kung may queries kami agad pong nasasagot ng kahit sino. Pinayagan po kami mag-reach out sa kahit sino sa space. So we think that's something that you should continue doing po. It's also a way to address po yung difficulty na nabanggit namin nila Andrea. So thank you very much po for that, Miss Helen and Woodler.
Then add ko lang po, yung sa mood learning po, nagbibigay po sila ng critics and comments para ma-improve pa po namin kung saan po kami nagkukulang, ganun po. So, mas nakakatulong po sa mga intern. Siyempre din po sa company na mas mag-improve pa po kami. Din yung company rin. Yun lang po. Thank you.
That's true po. That's why we encourage students here kung wala pa po silang company na pwedeng pag-internshipan, Mood Learning is accepting po. We, Miss Helen and others will discuss po how to apply and what Mood Learning, ano ang hinahanap ni Mood Learning sa kanilang interns or employees. Thank you po for that question, Miss Helen. Will be able to answer that po.
Andrea, Peter here. I was tasked by Miss Helen to answer the question what kind of people you look for as interns or employees in Mood Learning. But first, before answering that, I'd like to thank you guys for splendid work you did at the company. We truly have value, or you truly have contributed value to our work. So it's just so sad that you'll be going now because your internship period is done. You did this in a short span of time. So back to the question. we over the years we have accommodated the usual suspects, so to speak, people from computer science, IT, more recently animation, graphics, but then even more recently, people from IE have interned with us, no? But Mood Learning is of the view that we have a role to play, and that is somehow help bridge the gap between industry and academia, and that's quite a broad mandate that we assign to ourselves. Just the direct answer, we entertain people from all sorts of disciplines for as long as they are passionate about their work and they can see that Mood Learning is able to help them grow professionally. My inspiration has been when got me. I got an inspiration when I have been to a school where there was a undergrad program on Victorian Romance literature. Yet the person I was monitoring was interning at Wall Street, and so there is really a possible, I mean, apparent disconnect between romance literature and finance, but I see it as only an apparent gap, not really a real one. So at Mood Learning, we see real connections in diverse disciplines. So we welcome interns from different disciplines, and the catch is you really just have to be passionate about your professional growth, and Mood Learning can accommodate you. There's of course a screening process. We have standards. So we don't just accept anybody who's gonna walk in, So I hope that that clarifies the question. So Chris, are you interning yourself? So let us know if you're interested in Mood Learning internship. Thank you.
Thank you po,
Thank
Sir
you po, Sir
Peter.
Peter.
Okay, so yes, thank you for all your questions and comments for today.
Super quick, I think Sir Eric also has something to say. He raised his hand again. Hello po.
Yeah, just one last item. I'd just like to personally thank Mood Learning, Sir Peter, Ma'am Helen, for accommodating our interns from UP, and I hope this won't be the last that Mood Learning will be accepting interns from us. Si Sir Alan po ay nandito rin, yung faculty in charge namin ng internship. Siguro gusto ko lang din malaman from the interns, of course, moving forward. Right now we are doing internship via it's a virtual internship program, but definitely later we will be looking into the possibility of doing an F2F, possibly hybrid type. Siguro ang tanong ko na lang would be, would you have contributed more? Kaya would you have added more value to ML if it was a face-to-face type of internship, or sa tingin nyo okay lang naman na really doing this thing online, virtual yung internship?
Hello, I'd like to start first. For the work that we did here po, for me, what would make it very different, because as an internship, you really have, what we lack is that seamless communication with employees. For example, we miss out on a lot of onboarding since the operations of Mood Learning are mostly face to face at this point in time. So it's that connection when it comes to actual personal experience in the workplace. Because for now, while I very much appreciate everything it is, I think it would be similar to how the way I described it when we talked about it with each other was that it's similar to a case study made real. But having that connection with people is what really makes the internship stand out. So I think that more so than just applying the learnings of IE, it's in those soft skills that we weren't able to really get a full grasp on. So, ayun po. That's just my thoughts on it.
Yes, I agree po with Andrea, sa hard skills po, hindi naman po siya naging mahirap sa amin kasi na-apply po namin kung ano yung natutunan namin sa classroom. Pero mas na-improve po sana yung soft skills namin, yung pag-communicate namin with other people if F to F po yung internship. So, if possible po, if possible po, maganda sana yung may face-to-face din po na element. But given po yung environment ngayon, parang medyo risky pa po mag F to F. For me po, nakuha naman namin yung goal namin sa internship kahit virtual lang. Parang may bonus sana kung F to F. That's my opinion.
Add lang po, because I think from what I've heard and from other batchmates is that because there are others that, and for example, for us, since it's technology, that's in our current industry, e-learning, so it's really primarily online. But I think when it comes to, for example, FMCG in other industries, it may be more difficult. So this is just our personal experience with e-learning and tech. But for other industries, it may limit the flexibility in the learnings of the internship. Ayun po.
And to my opinion, may pros and cons po yung pagiging online yung internship po namin din sa iba po na face-to-face yung internship nila. So, yun nakita ko naman po na nakuha po namin yung goal namin. So, also na-apply po namin yung mga natutunan po namin. And nakapag-contribute naman din po sa moodLearning. And for me, mas okay na po yun. Also, kung face-to-face, yun nga po, dagdag ko lang po sa sinabi ni Gwen and Andrea, na mas makapag-communicate po kami. Yun po, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys for your inputs and we'll definitely consider them moving forward with the internship program. Salamat po.
Thank you po. We have
Thank you po, sir.
another question po from Sir Raf. Do you have any measurements did before you provide such recommendations? Thank you. Okay, thank you po for this question. Actually, right now po, wala pa pong quantitative na measurements po. Wala pong data na hawak yung company para maibigay sa amin yung quantitative measurements po. So, also hindi na po kasi kaya ng time namin to maybe conduct pa po ng mga quantitative measurements like time studies or work studies po. So, we based this po more sa flow po nung processes, less sa quantitative aspect po nung processes.
So I'd like to add lang po. For us, a lot of our first week was spent interviewing all our first task, at least for me and Gwen and Miles, since we were onboarded earlier than Bert. For us, we started with the BPMN. So our data gathering was mostly interviewing all of the different teams and their process and documentations. Usually when you talk about those types of things and you ask more in depth, for us, when we'd ask more if they have this measure and then we'd realize na wala palang ganito, then that's a type of gap that we're exposing for the company. So it's a lot of it isn't really, so what we did was mostly qualitative. So with the post evaluations we're recommending, hopefully that future interns and also the company themselves will be able to take it in a different direction and take a more technical approach. But for now, this is what we had to do. Ayun po. I guess that's all the questions.
Yes. Thank you po for all the questions and the comments.
Thank you po, Sir Ralph.
Thank you po, Sir Raf, for that last question. And for everyone po, we'll wrap this up na. We thank you all for making yourselves available to attend our presentation. To our classmates and friends here, we hope that we have been successful in instilling how important and interesting process improvement is. To our instructors, we express our deepest gratitude po for imparting your knowledge sa amin. We hope that we've made you proud by applying what you have taught to solve real life problems. And lastly, to Mood Learning, we thank you for providing an environment conducive to learning and self growth. We thank you for treating us the same way you treat your full time and part time employees. We did not feel as if we were just interns. You encouraged us to do our very best because we are interns and our work is just as important as everybody else's. Again, thank you for your attendance and participation. If you have questions po, pwede po kayo mag-reach out sa amin through these links. We have here the website po, the Facebook page, and the email address po of Mood Learning. So if you have questions about Mood Learning, we'd love to hear from you. And we hope you enjoyed our presentation. We also hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Please stay safe, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much po.
Thank you so much po to everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank
Thank you
you,
po, Ma'am
Andrea,
Helen.
Miles, and Bert. When the pandemic situation is over, hopefully we'll get to see you and you come visit us in our office. So we get to meet face to face.
Yes po, sana po pag nag face-to-face classes po, maybe may maka-visit po kami sa office niyo po sa UP.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you po to everyone,
Thank
friends,
you. Thank you. Bye.
instructors.
Thank you po.